Emanating from www.michaelnimmons.com. It's the Thinking Out Loud radio show, giving voice to issues that matter to you.
I'm Kevin Merida, Senior Vice President of ESPN.
Hi everyone, this is Roxy Roll from Western Air, Bahamas.
I'm Monica Morgan, international photojournalist and motivational speaker.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Denise Isaac from WXYZ Channel 7.
Hey, this is Maurice Griffin from BET Sunday's Best.
I'm Lauren Winfrey, TV news reporter for today's TMJ4 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
This is Dr. Eddie Connor, and you're listening to the Thinking Out Loud show with my main man, Michael Nimmons. Grew up listening and singing If I Could Be Like Mike, and I really do, so I had to listen to how he brings it, how he flows with it, how he engages you, how he speaks truth to power and inspires you to do something greater than ever before. Don't you dare miss it. Continue to listen. Think out loud, speak out loud with Michael Nimmons.
And you're listening to the Thinking Out Loud radio show.
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 So one of the best radio shows that I've ever been on.
And in Detroit, I can't go without thinking out loud with my boy, Michael Nimmons.
This is Michael Eric Dyson, and when I'm in Detroit, I listen to the Thinking Out Loud radio show, dropping that knowledge, giving that inspiration, giving us that enlightenment. Nobody does it like Brother Michael does it. Do your thing. Holla. Peace.
Featuring author, motivational speaker, and minister, Michael Nimmons. This the show where we talk women in politics with Reverend Marcia L. Dyson.
You have a new Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib, who said we're going to impeach this MF. What do you think of her comments?
Catch it on iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Spotify.
We know the war cry is what she had said. What she had and how she said it, she has the right to say. But you asked me what I wish she had done, the reason why I was excited about her and the sister from Somalia being there, because I know for Somalia and Africa that we could at least as American citizens know that Africa was not one country, it was multiple countries on the continent. She had that opportunity to make us global citizens, and for me, she missed the mark with it.
You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked, keep it locked, keep it locked.
Hello and welcome to the Black History edition of the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Happy Black History Month to everybody listening and tuning in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. I'm your host, author, motivational speaker, and minister, Michael Nimmons. I'm excited. I hope you are as well. You are tuned in to the show. It's giving voice to issues that matter to you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to part 2 of our conversation with speaker, activist, influencer, and ambassador, Reverend Marcia L. Dyson, as we talk women in politics. If you missed part 1, you can always go back to our website, michaelnimmons.com, and click the podcast button menu option, and there you'll be able to listen to it, or you can listen right from our home page. We've made a few upgrades to our website, and we've starting to see an increase in traffic as well. So go to michaelnimmons.com, listen to podcast from the homepage. You can watch video from the homepage. You can even read our latest blog posts right from the homepage of michaelnimmons.com. Got a lot of great things on our website. We've even seen an increase in the blog posts that we have written on michaelnimmons.com. If you click the blog menu option there, we have several new blog posts that we've recently posted. The most recent one was Is America Ready? Discussing Senator Kamala Harris's presidential run, as well as some other candidates, including Senator Cory Booker, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and others who have recently thrown their hat in the ring, and talking about this 2020 field of Democratic candidates that are vying for the presidency, so to speak. So we are really seeing increase in numbers, those that are reading the blog. That particular blog, Is America Ready? We've also wrote a blog about President Trump. We call that Unprecedented. You got to check this blog out. It's gotten over almost 200 views, and just we talk a lot about some of the things that he has done in the White House, kind of a play on that word unprecedented, or unprecedented, UNPRECEDENTED, unprecedented. But the actual blog post is worded or titled Unprecedented, UNPRESIDENTED. So you got to read it to really understand where we're coming from with this particular blog post. We try to really give you some something to sink your teeth into, something with substance when we write, something to really get you thinking, because that's what not just our show is about, thinking out loud, but our blogs are about that as well. So check that blog out, Unprecedented. We've also written a blog about the R. Kelly recent scandal that's been going on and out in the media. It's called R. Kelly's Other Mistress. Want you to check that out and give us your feedback. It's really talking about who or what is an accessory to, an unnamed accessory to this R. Kelly saga that has taken place, over the past, 20 years or so. There's an unnamed accessory that is just as accountable as R. Kelly. But we don't want to give it away because, we want you to check it out and give us your thoughts and your feedback as well. R. Kelly's Other Mistress. And you can read our blogs just by clicking the blog menu option at michaelnimmons.com. And if you want to leave us a comment in any of our blogs, the way our site is set up, it asks for you to become a member. And I think it would be a great idea if you, subscribe to the blog. That way, whenever we post a new blog, you'll get an email directly from our website letting you know that a new blog is up and ready for you to read, and you can make comments directly to the blog. It is a very convenient way to stay in touch and in tune with what's going on at michaelnimmons.com. So when you go to that blog option there, I believe you'll get prompted to sign in. And it's very easy signing in. Just give us your name, first and last name, as well as your email address, and the site will automatically send you an email now that you are a subscriber to michaelnimmons.com. And I think it's a great way for us to stay in touch with our listeners as well as our viewing audience, those that reading our blogs as well as visiting our site. So we recommend you do that, and we would love to get your comments and your feedback. In fact, when you make a comment about any of our blogs or anything for that matter, we'll there's a great possibility that we will definitely read it over the air, because we want to share our feedback with our listeners, with you, those of you who tune in each and every week to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. And we hope that you would be you would engage us as we engage you. We don't want this to be a dialogue, but we want a monologue rather, but we want to be able to dialogue with our listeners. We want you to be able to reach out and talk to us, as well as us being able to reach out and to touch you as well. But we again appreciate those of you who've already stopped by michaelnimmons.com and looked at the blogs and even clicked on the podcast menu option there to review some of our old shows, some of our shows that are in our archives. We have done over 100 shows. This is our 105th show. Believe it or not, I can't believe it either. Still pinching myself. God is just tremendous. Just tremendously blessing us and the Thinking Out Loud radio show. And again, we just tremendously appreciate you, those of you who listen to us on Blog Talk Radio or on WDPR 102.4 or any of the podcasting networks that are out there as well. We love and appreciate you just the same. Again, it's Black History Month, and we are just excited about that as well. Obviously, I am someone that is a proponent of our culture. We promote that on our show. If you remember, on last February, we aired interview that we had with the Tuskegee Airmen. That's right. We had an opportunity to interview two very distinguished Tuskegee Airmen in the person of Sergeant Preston Jowers and Colonel Bob Tillman. You can go back and review that or listen to that podcast. It was a tremendous honor and pleasure to interview those two gentlemen on last February, and had a great time talking to them about some of the things they experienced as Tuskegee Airmen. And it was just a great show, and we highly recommend you go back and listen to it as well. So again, happy Black History Month. Take some time this month and really reflect on our history as African Americans, and this is a time for us to not just reflect on where we've been, but where we need to go as a people. Dr. King wrote a very famous speech and book entitled "Where Do We Go From Here?" where he talked about not only where we are presently, and during that time, the 1960s, the Civil Rights Movement, and what the objectives and purposes of that movement was during that time, but where do we go from that point forward? And that question, I think, still rings true even on today. And as we move into our "What Are You Thinking About" segment, talking about some of the current events taking place in our world, in our society, it really begs the question, where do we go from here with what's going on with Governor Ralph Northam and dressing up in blackface and in this yearbook not willing to resign as a result of that. We're going to get into that in our "What Are You Thinking About" segment. And this, of course, presidential race with several African Americans, throwing their hat in the ring to run for president of the United States in 2020. And I'm sure, we're going to, of course, race is going to be a big part of the discussion, a part of the debate coming up in 2020 and during this election, this presidential election cycle, and of course what's going on with the Trump administration. So, this again, that question, where do we go from here, is a really relevant question, even though it was a question that was asked some 40 or 50 years ago. It is still a question that that we asked even today and even during this show.
What you thinking about? 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 What you think about? What you think about?
In this week's What Are You Thinking About segment, we open up talking about Governor Ralph Northam. I'm sure you've heard about this story, who's in the news because of alleged photos of him painted in blackface standing next to another white man in a Klansman outfit in, believe it or not, his medical school yearbook. When the photos first surfaced, Democratic Governor of Virginia Ralph Northam apologized for the photo and indicated that it was him. Only 2 days later retract that statement, saying that it wasn't him, but admitting to painting his face black when he dressed up like Michael Jackson for a contest as a young man, because he really loved Michael Jackson, like doing the moonwalk. Go figure. Everyone who has seen the photo and have followed the story are calling for the embattled governor to resign. He refuses to resign, stating that he doesn't want to be remembered as a lifelong racist if he's forced to leave office this way. He believes he can reconcile his name and reputation if he's allowed to continue on as governor. This remains to be seen. But the question becomes at this point, is he still able to govern under this cloud of speculation about whether he is a racist or not? A couple things I would like to point out about stories like this that I find interesting. First, society has very little tolerance for racists, and so it should. Racism is a problem that we know will never go away. We've been dealing with it for a long time, but it is definitely one that less and less of the public tolerate across the board. You can see our racism and racists are lambasted on social media as a clue into the tolerance level of everyday people. So, if people in general have a very low tolerance level for racism and racists, then it's kind of hard to see how this governor can get past the spectrum of being seen as one and still holding the position as governor of Virginia. I'm sure you agree. No one should ever be rewarded or promoted for being a racist. Now, that's my first point. My second point is to those who say, what if he did this a long time ago and has since reconciled and changed his ways? What if he was a racist 20 or 30 years ago, but now has reconciled those prejudices and considers himself a different person today? What do you do in a situation like that, when we're not privy to the evolution of this person's character, but we seem to only be aware of his past? Do you acquit this person's behavior and believe that he's changed, a changed person today, or do you still hold him accountable for their past indiscretions? Tough questions, but questions that must be answered and addressed nonetheless. I say there's great virtue in the story of redemption because I believe every man and woman can change. You know what they say, time heals all wounds. That's one part of the equation we don't usually consider. What if they actually did change? What if they really were sorry? Because the first thing you hear many times once this closet racism comes out or is made public, you hear, I'm sorry, or I'm not a racist. And I guess in some cases, or maybe one or two cases, that may be true. However, I do think that while apologies are good and contrition and remorse is great to show, bad actions have bad consequences. Say it with me. Bad actions have bad consequences. Say that again. Bad actions have bad consequences. And you cannot get me to believe that those two gentlemen in this yearbook, when they dressed up and to take this picture, they did not think that what they were doing was not wrong. It's hard for me to believe that they didn't think there was something wrong with them dressing up the way they did in blackface and in a Ku Klux Klan outfit and taking a picture. You know, it's hard for me to believe they did not think that this was a bad idea. So with that, bad actions have bad consequences. There is no escaping this. And of course, you have those who happen to slip through the cracks for a number of different reasons. But I say, for the betterment of the Commonwealth of Virginia, for the health of the Democratic Party and the upcoming 2020 presidential election cycle, and for the health of this nation as a whole, Governor Ralph Northam needs to resign. For all of those reasons, which may make his position very pivotal and detrimental all at the same time, we admonish you, we implore you, it's time to resign, Governor Northam. Also wanted to take a few minutes and briefly share some of the feedback we got from our recent blog post, Is America Ready? If you recall, we released this blog on last Tuesday, immediately after our interview with part one of our interview with Reverend Marcia Dyson. This blog discusses the Democratic presidential candidates for 2020 and their campaigns, including Senator Kamala Harris, who is both an African American and a woman. And we discuss America's readiness for the first woman president. Could this be the presidential cycle that ultimately breaks the proverbial glass ceiling in America? Could it be? Are we on the precipice of history yet again? We released it last week and it already has gotten close to 100 views. So if you haven't given it a glance yet, you can check it out at michaelnimmons.com, which is our website. It's right on the homepage. Just click the link there and you can read it. It's a quick read, about 8 minutes, I believe. And if you want to make a comment, the site asks for you to create an account, which takes a quick minute. I'm telling you, quick minute. You can log in. You can even log in with your Facebook account, which also gives you the option to directly share the post on your comments and your comments on your Facebook page. So you can take this blog and this conversation and discussion onto Facebook and share it with your followers, share it with your fans, and have this discussion and continue this discussion about, is America ready? We want to know, is America ready? Is America ready? Are we on the precipice of history again, as we were just 8 or 9 years ago, back in 2008, when we elected the first African American president of the United States in Barack Obama? So I thought I would just share some of the feedback that we got from some of those who've read the blog on Twitter. JP DeClerc. First of all, my Twitter handle is at TOL Radio Host MSN. TOL Radio Host MSN. If you want to add us on Twitter, it's TOL Radio Host MSN. We have the same handle, or I'm calling it handle, but same username on Instagram as well. TOL Radio Host MSN. JP DeClerc messaged me and said, I don't know if my opinion matters. It does matter. really because I'm not an American. And if there's one thing I've learned is that usually American friends of all color don't like too much if a foreigner talks about American politics. The closest I'm to being an American are my many friends, 2, my many trips, and 3, my Caucasian sister-in-law who lives in the U.S. since at least 25 years now. Happily married with her African American, hate those terms, husband. In parentheses, you put hate those terms, husband. Over here, we already had our first female leader, so to speak, and also our first gay prime minister, so a bit touchy. Not sure exactly where he is talking about. He did not mention that in his message, but JP the clerk, thank you so much for responding to our question. And of course, we know there are other female leaders around the country, in Germany, and of course in England, in Parliament. So other countries have elected women to the post, the highest leadership posts in the land, but the United States has not done so as of yet. And we wanted to know, is this the presidential cycle where we will see something like this happen? Another person, Jera Becton, said, we are ready. We are ready. Hashtag she ready. I believe she was referring to Senator Kamala Harris. Let's see. Neonitis said they don't need to be ready. We have to make them ready. Neonitis said they don't need to be ready. We have to make them ready. And I believe he's trying to say that we have to, we as a collective are the ones that really have to put them in a position to win. And the best way to do that is to go out and vote. If you believe that Senator Kamala Harris embodies what it means to be President of the United States, she has all the qualifications and credentials in your mind to fill this position, then you are empowered as a voter to do just that. Go out and vote. And of course, I do agree with that assessment. We have a few more on here. Have a lot of people have, of course, liked the blog. Just like the blog on Twitter, and some saying I am too. I am too. Saying that they are ready for a woman president. I am too. Carolyn Pyro, I am ready for President Harris. Carolyn Pyro said that I am ready for President Harris. So yes, we have some individuals that have responded, and we truly appreciate them checking us out on Twitter. Again, our username on Twitter is at TOL Radio Host MSN. If you want to add us on Twitter, as they say, or on Instagram, it's TOL Radio Host MSN. Of course, you want to leave us a comment, you can make it in the blog post, or you can send us an email at contact@michaelnimmons.com. We're going to be doing more blogging, and we just would love to hear from you and get your feedback as well. As you know, when you do make a comment, we will share it over the airwaves during our Thinking Out Loud radio show. So we encourage you to go out and take a gander, as they say, at our blog, and let us know what your thoughts are. If you want to log in, create an account, or log in as your Facebook profile and share it on there, you're more than welcome to do that as well. And finally, we just want to give our thoughts on this past Sunday's Super Bowl. Man, it was Super Bowl. Woo! If that wasn't one of the worst Super Bowls in Super Bowl history, I'm sure you all agree. That was the worst Super Bowl. I wish I could get the last 4 hours of my life back. It was super bold. Remember that? We used to say that, Super Bowl, back in the day. Yeah, I wish I could get the last 4 hours of my life back. I could not believe how terrible, how bad that Super Bowl was. You know, the score ended up being 13-3. You know, the sad part was that both teams had 2 weeks to prepare, and the best that the Rams could do was 3 points. 3 points worth of offense. Unbelievable. And I mean, the Patriots, it was you know, the defense was good on both sides. The Rams and the Patriots had great defense. But you know, you don't watch the Super Bowl for defense. You watch it for offense. And before, I had planned to boycott it completely because I did not like the fact that the Patriots were in the Super Bowl yet again. So here we are watching Tom Brady for yet another Super Bowl. I was just tired of seeing it. And I mean, you know, so of course, Tom now has 6 Super Bowl rings, been in the Super Bowl 9 times, a record as a quarterback, a 40-year-old quarterback, by the way, the oldest, I believe the oldest quarterback in NFL history to win a Super Bowl. Definitely the oldest active quarterback in the league right now, you know, which is unbelievable. Tom just needs to go somewhere and retire. I mean, who's with me? Come on, who's with me? So, you know, those are my thoughts on that game. I wish I could get the last 4 hours of my life back, but I can't, unfortunately. So, you know, here we are. Well, that is all for our What Are You Thinking About segment. We're going to take our first break of the night, but when we come back, we're going to get right into our interview with speaker, activist, influencer, and Ambassador Reverend Marcia L. Dyson as we continue our discussion of women in politics. You don't want to go anywhere. You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. We'll be right back.
You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show, giving voice to issues that matter to you.
Hi, my name is Maya, and you're listening to the Thinking Out Loud radio show with radio show host and my daddy, Michael Nimmons.
You better listen to that, little girl.
Who is Michael Nimmons? Where can I purchase his books? Does he have a blog? Can I leave a comment about the show? How can I subscribe to the Thinking Out Loud radio show? How can I contact him for a speaking engagement?
The answer is michaelnimmons.com. Check out the new michaelnimmons.com website to listen, share, and subscribe to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Leave a comment about the show on the Thinking Out Loud radio show page. Read the blog, purchase Pastor Nimmons books, and so much more.
Hi,
I'm Pastor Mike Nimmons, and we hope you'll take some time today to visit michaelnimmons.com. It's the one-stop shop for everything we have to offer, from our books to our blog to the Thinking Out Loud radio show and so much more.
michaelnimmons.com, where ministry is our mantra.
It's their birthday. Need a gift for that special someone? Then call KCN Designs and sit back and smile. KCN Designs specialize in custom-made all-occasion baskets that are sure to make that special someone smile. Call KCN Designs today at 248-820-3691. That's 248-820-3691 and order your custom basket today.
Listen to the Thinking Out Loud radio show, available on Apple Podcast, Google Play Music, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and now available on Spotify. Subscribe today.
Have you purchased Michael Nimmons' new book entitled Vision? It is definitely a bestseller in the making. Endorsed by presiding bishops, pastors, ministers, best-selling authors, and more. Listen to what Dr. Eddie Connor had to say. Vision is a riveting book filled with spiritual keys and pragmatic principles. The insights shared by Michael Nimmons will inspire you to manifest your vision to receive provision. As you read, you will be encouraged to embark on your own vision from within. Michael Nimmons offers a riveting and thought-provoking perspective on how spiritual vision transcends both natural and mental vision and propels you to your place of destiny and purpose in God. Available online everywhere books are sold. Get your copy today. Miss the 100 show? On August 7th, 2017, a show was born.
Welcome to the inaugural edition of the Thinking Out Loud radio show.
Catch it on iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Spotify.
In this edition of the Thinking Out Loud radio show, we're going to be switching it up a bit and taking you on a trip down memory lane, highlighting some of our most influential guests. Denise Isaac, a former meteorologist for Channel 7. Kirk Mays, CEO of Forgotten Harvest. Kevin Merida, a senior vice president at ESPN. Rexy Rowe, VP and General Counsel for Western Air. Judge Vonda Evans.
God will use ordinary people to do extraordinary things.
You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked, keep it locked, keep it locked. You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked, keep it locked, keep it locked.
All right, family, we're getting ready to get back into our interview with speaker, influencer, activist, and ambassador, Reverend Marcia L. Dyson, as we bring to you part 2 of our discussion of women in politics. Again, if you missed part 1, you can always go back to michaelnimmons.com, click the podcast button, and listen to part 1 of our discussion of women in politics. Check it out. And that's why we have you on the show, because that's what this show is all about: thinking out loud, talking out loud, and expressing controversial viewpoints. Everybody has a right to express themselves, I thought and I felt like she was really just expressing her frustrations with this administration. I really felt that she was speaking on behalf of millions of Americans who feel disenfranchised, who feel neglected, who feel like they've been overlooked, millions of immigrants that have come to this country or trying to come to this country and have been turned away. And, it just, and she's really, I believe, just expressing her frustration. But I also understand what you're saying as well, that we should take the high ground. I love what Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. And I think that should be our approach. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, because there has to be a moral compass. There has to be some middle ground to this. And like I said, you don't have to give the war cry with the war cry. It's implied that this is the direction of the Democrat Party as it pertains to Trump. But definitely, I believe in people being their authentic selves. But I also know that when you first go on a job, you can't roll up in Goldman Sachs. So okay, it's great because F you all, you all made the money, keeping the money from the black folks. I'm up here, I'm going to mess you up. He's like, okay, so you're out of here. Because don't forget, even though we have elected officials on the Hill, and they represent the districts, they do not represent the majority consensus of the people. There are millions of folks who did not vote. And remember I talked about this great lethargy. We talk about that all the time with our political groups, including the Black Women's Roundtable. And there's great trepidation about this 2020 election because, first of all, you're going to have 100 Democrats running. It's going to dilute the messages even of the freshman congressional people because they won't have the mentors there because everybody now is going to be jockeying up on a campaign trail, and which means a lot of businesses won't be taken care of because the presidential primary distracts anyway. So you have an impeachment, you have the presidential election coming up, and that means that we're going to have a greater dilution of the political power and the junction when we need to be the strongest. I mean, with Elizabeth Warren, it's working with Bernie Sanders people. Bernie Sanders people are still going to hate up on the Hillary Clinton people because the memory lapse is not that great. And conversation I had today just about that. What is it going to mean now for Congress? Because people are going to start campaigning, and the people who are congressional members who are seasoned will start campaigning because it depends on who they choose to run for president, who will strengthen their committee selections or their positions within a new administration if that happens. That's terrifying to me. In the midst of an impeachment, in the midst of all these great new freshman congressional members, it's going to be a diluted government no matter what. And that's the reason why, like I said, the citizens need to be informed. Our power is not with elected officials. There's nobody on the Hill going to tell me what to do with my body as a woman. They couldn't tell me as a teenager, and they sure in the hell ain't going to tell me now. If you don't pay me, then I told the women, let's do a girl cot. We cannot shop for one day and ruin the global economy. So we have all these distractions. I'm not a victim. And that's one thing when we talked about the women's movement. How can you go from burning the bra to running with wolves to victimization? Nigga, you touch me, I'm going to jack you up. Now, for women who are physically, will the laws really protect us? No, I work with domestic victim violence. We can legislate that all day long. We need a re-entry of socialization of men and women. Until we have that honest conversation, which I alluded to before, I cannot say I'm all for women and then act like the men in my life are the beast. We have to have, especially the juncture in this particular culture in which especially the young people live, we need to have this end of the battle of the sexes. I don't know why men who don't think that making sure that a single household by a mother wouldn't be great to have her have equal pay as a man, because if the father, for whatever reason, because I don't want to diss the brother saying, who's not paying their child support, if she has enough, I don't know what that brother's going through. I know that it's hard for black men to get a job, even if it's more pay, as it is for black women to get in those positions more with less pay. It's almost balance it out. I understand the tensions of the finances that happen, and God knows you're now entering this age of technology was going to reduce even more, especially amongst us who are victims of the digital divide, the most racist economic frontier in America, especially as it relates to black, unless you really have that mathematic and scientific mind. So we have to, I'm sorry, God, I wish I wouldn't think so much, but we have this very complex reality. It's not like, I don't know how old your parents are. In the 60s, you married for love because he was cute, because you were going to go places. And now it's like, what are the options? Can my children even dream to be a doctor? How can you even train your children for 10 years from now, because everything is moving so fast you can't even keep up with the technology? All these things are what I look at. Calling, impeaching Trump, do whatever you want to do. He's still going to be in office unless you indict him, and then you're going to spend all the time distract for what we need as citizens, and we still ain't going to have nothing but 6 feet more under.
So you don't think impeachment is the answer?
Well, yeah, you can impeach him, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get him out of office. Remember, Bill Clinton was impeached. He stayed in office.
Well, he was impeached in the House, but he wasn't impeached in the Senate. And right now, it's pretty much the same scenario where Republicans, right? Mm-hmm.
All this, and this is what bothers me. You don't have the majority of the Senate, so go in there. Okay. So you said you was going to impeach him, and he said he was going to build a wall. You're both keeping your campaign promises. You're both going to ruin us all. Get impeached in the House. You're not going to get impeached in the Senate.
Right.
He's still there. It's a good exercise of will and determination.
Well, what I'm holding out hope for is that the Mueller report will reveal that he, in fact, did collude with Russia, and there's evidence of this, and that will convince senators, Republican senators, to impeach. Exactly, because there's no way. I mean, that to me is the definition of un-American. You colluded with Russia, and if you are a senator and you do not elect to impeach this president, then you are an accessory, and I think that's what Democrats will propose, or that's the narrative they will project to those senators who refuse to impeach him. Mitch McConnell is somebody I cannot understand how he just looks like another bully, and it, again, partisan politics has gotten us nowhere. And I agree. We have to be objective. And I think that when this Mueller report does come out, when it does, and reveal what we already all know, I believe it, that will delegitimize his presidency and thereby require and call for him to be impeached.
Oh yes, and then we'll have Pence.
Well,
if they cannot do the well, it's a good thing if they can do if they impeach and they can get him out of office prior to the 2020 election, which that it's going to take a long time because the legal process in itself is strenuous, as we know. Even with President Clinton, was a long time, even through the House. And with the Senate debate, and yes, you could talk about that, but because they too are running, their position is also determined upon who's president too. Because as long as that your party's person is president, you do have more something to build off of. Will they actually do that? Of course, we have a different circumstances with Bill Clinton than we do, of course, with Donald Trump, with the inclusion of Russia undermining our electoral process, which is a more faulty accusation, not a faulty accusation, more a deterrent accusation than your relationship with an intern. But if it rolls over, into the presidential campaign, then it would be those kind of talking points, and we might be able to escape a Pence being the first person in line for that office if the Democrats can win the presidential election. I think that this is such a trying time, in American politics. One, because of the mammoth called Trump, and then the great racial divide that we have seen exposed undeniably in the country. When you see our Congress members so fractured, and now that we have the House, we can only hope for the best. And then we can only hope that those Republicans, when the Mueller report comes out, that if it holds that we had some kind of collusion with Russia to undermine the will of the American people, then it would be a landmark in American political history to see then what happens as a precedent unlike anything else in our political history. So I'm hoping, but it's just so much to have to hope for, right now. Hoping that he gets impeached, hoping that the impeachment takes place before 2020, and that if he doesn't win another presidency, I mean, it's a quagmire of the ifs and ifs and ifs, because already, as far as we're concerned, it's February. And unless Mueller's going to come out with this report in favor of the wishes of the Democrats' wildest hopes that this man has colluded so they can get him out, the process itself is going to take a long time. And then in the midst of this, like I said before, there's so much activity, and then which leads to a lot of inactivity for the citizens overall because of this political campaign and everybody jockeying. Every Democrats themselves going to be like, what is Kamala doing? What is Cory Booker doing? What is Elizabeth doing? Oh, my God, it's Joe Biden. And all of this, no matter how great that one thing is getting rid of Trump, just imagine what's going to be not seen, because everybody's going to start watching who's doing what and who they have to call upon to support them. They're going to need their fellow congressional people in their districts, the mayor. And I'm just afraid of the weakness of the fiber, the tapestry of what we might desire for the Democratic Party, especially right now. So I hope that they weave that tight, that they agree, like they could not agree unanimously about Nancy Pelosi, that they do agree, that they do tighten up, that they come amongst themselves, choose the right presidential candidate for 2020 so that it won't be such a fracturing within it and the animosity within the party itself. If so, it will be that little hole in the fence, not the immigration wall along the southern border of our country, that he can seep back through if Mueller's report is not detrimental to his presidency.
Don't touch that dial. It's the Thinking Out Loud radio show. We'll be right back.
This the show where we talked bullying and suicide with author and anti-bullying activist Justin Coates.
So, Justin, I want you to tell our listeners how you ultimately decided to handle being bullied.
Catch it on Apple iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
I reversed the curse of a negative, stupid, to something positive. So this is what stupid means. The S is for I have strength. The T is for I am talented. The U is for I am unique. The P is for I was prayerful. The I is for I am intelligent. And the D is for I have determination.
You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked, keep it locked, keep it locked.
It's their birthday. They need a gift for that special someone. Then call KCN Designs and sit back and smile. KCN Designs specialize in custom-made all-occasion baskets that are sure to make that special someone smile. Call KCN Designs today at 248-820-3691. That's 248-820-3691 and order your custom basket today.
You're listening to the Thinking Out Loud radio show with Pastor Michael Nimmons. Don't you dare touch that dial.
Hey everybody, Dr. Townsville here, the educator. Listen, if you thinking, I want you to think out loud with my voice, Pastor Mike.
Thinking Out Loud radio show, giving voice to issues that matter to you.
Looking for a professional tax and bookkeeping service? Then look no further than Consumer Tax Connect. This is a full-service preparation and bookkeeping service that prides itself on great customer service, professionalism, and getting results. Have tax returns that still need to be filed or getting audited or having issues with IRS? Call Consumer Tax Connect today at 248-395-0079. That's 248-395-0079. Consumer Tax Connect, a tax service designed with you in mind.
Have you purchased Michael Nimitz' new book entitled Vision? It is definitely a bestseller in the making. This book is full of positive insights on vision from people like President Barack Obama, Nelson Mandela, and Dr. Miles Monroe. Michael Nimitz offers a riveting and thought-provoking perspective on how spiritual vision transcends both natural and mental vision and propels you to your place of destiny and purpose in God. It is definitely a must-have. Just $20 for hard copy and $3.99 in ebook format. Available online everywhere books are sold. Get your copy today.
This is Mike Nimitz of the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Catch our show every Friday at 8 p.m. on WDPR 102.4. To stream the show, just log on to the website at www.wdpr1024.com. WDPR 102.4, the station bringing you Jesus Christ with a purpose. With my man, Pastor Thomas Brockenberry. Don't you dare touch that dial.
You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked, keep it locked, keep it locked.
I hope you are enjoying part 2 of our discussion of women in politics with Reverend Marcia L. Dyson. Let's get back into this powerful interview. You know, and as you were talking, I thinking out loud, I just thought of something that just crossed my mind when you mentioned Pence being the next man in line. Now, granted, yes, if President Trump is impeached, Vice President Pence would become president. But then who becomes vice president?
The
Speaker of the House.
Right. That would be fun. Oh, man. I just pop my popcorn, put on my pajamas, because it's going to be a long ride, buddy.
I just thought of it. I said, yeah, Nancy Pelosi becomes vice president.
Right.
Think about that. This is the first time that I actually, really gave that some thought, that if Trump is impeached and Pence becomes Pence becomes president, the next person in succession is the Speaker of the House, who is Nancy Pelosi. Wow. That would make, you're right, that would make for some must-see TV. Woo!
For scandal, what? Olivia Pope, who? It'd be bodies everywhere.
Man. And now again, I think she would keep him, I think Nancy would keep Pence in check, even though both of them are politicians. And but Nancy is a veteran politician. She knows her stuff. She would keep Pence in line, I think.
She was. She's a strong figure. I really do love Miss Nancy Pelosi, and it would be fun to watch her. It's fun to watch her now. I love her little smile and her petite decorum, but she roars, and she has the gavel. This is a very important time. And even through all of this shaking up that we're having, the one thing that we can look for silver lining in this is that the citizens are awakened, though not well. They need to be informed a little bit more. We are engaged, be engaged more because, like I said before, there are a lot of millions of people who did not vote, like 9%, if not more, of the people who were expected to vote who could have given more wins, not only to Congress but to gubernatorial races in favor of the Democrats. So we have a long road ahead of us to get the country right, not only on course for the citizens, but to really suit to the relationship. We can have four parties that are very prominent, not only Democrats, Republicans. You have the independents and the libertarians and the crazy parties like I want somebody pay my mortgage party, which I think I want to head up. We just have the heavy lift as citizens in our government as well. And we need more information. We need to be more savvy. We need to be not when I say decorum, I don't believe in necessarily being polite, because I love watching BBC's Parliament. I mean, they talk about each other's mothers. They play the dozens. Have you ever watched the British Parliament in action? They make us look so tame over here. No, seriously, they do. They're very rambunctious over there. But I think that for us, though, since we utilize social media to impact ourselves emotionally, that any information we get, that we're emotional around sound information and not just empty words or what we think we should hear or ad hominems, because at the end of the day it is about the law, it is about justice, and it is about equity and equality.
Wow. I know you guys are enjoying our interview with Reverend Marcia Dyson. I truly am. We're just enjoying the conversation, talking about the political landscape of this country and a lot of what ifs. But I just have a couple more questions for you, Reverend Dyson, if that's okay. We were talking about 2020 and the presidential election that will be coming up next, and in 2008, this country elected the first African-American president of the United States in the person of Barack Obama. That was a very historic election for many of us. I remember that. My son, I think he was about 3 years old, and someone told me during that particular time that young people coming up during this time, all they would know is a black president in office, and that raising their level of expectations and raising their dreams and goals to another level, so to speak. And so all that being said, I want to know if there 2020 is coming up. Will this country ever elect a woman president? What are your thoughts on that?
I think they will. Will they do it in 2020? I don't believe so. Even though you have Kamala Harris possibly will throw in the towel with Elizabeth Warren. We don't know what Kristen Gillibrand might do in New York. I mean, people had surmised that even in 2016. I think she's one of, because people have not heard her. She's been kind of quiet, and it's those quiet ones that I tend to watch because they might be fortifying themselves, and she could be a good candidate. So you might have New York represented in that race. You could, I don't know who else of the women who right now would think about it, but I think that, yeah, but will they do that? I'm not sure. I think the Democrats realize in order for them to get themselves situated, that one thing that they kind of noticed of the Democratic Party, the reason why a lot of women may have voted for Trump too, is that there was not only the angry white woman, right now you have the angry white male. So I think that if anything, you might see them looking at a white man with a person of color as a vice president, whether it's a male or female. And that's probably a combination. I don't think that Kamala will have enough strength to pull that across the finishing line. Elizabeth Warren is a little bit too complex. She's a little bit like Donald Trump to the left with a dress on for the party and has misstepped. And then, too, like I know that in Iowa, she's looking to lean to garner some of Bernie Sanders' independent votes, which will bring up that bad memory of what happened in 2016 when they felt that their vote was stolen from them, given what had happened at the DNC as well. So there's a lot of undercurrents that might erupt and flood out the dreams of having a woman president in 2020. But I believe that we will have one, and in my lifetime, who knows, we may have it in 2020 if, when looking at the Democratic Party, whoever the nominee might be, that they get behind that person solid. It was so fractured in 2016 because people were mad at each other. You know, the independents had a lot of people not to vote, or not to get out, or not to be enthused as much as they should have been. The reason why Donald Trump won, not because of white women, it's just that black people were just throw up their hands. The independents were frustrated. The Democrats didn't do right to the independents. They wouldn't coalesce with them at all. You know, they didn't embrace the people from the independent party as much as they should have because of this thing with Bernie and Hillary. So we need to look at the mistakes that we've made, and, you know, those who are, you know, politically conscious, because even though we talk politics, we're all engaged, we can all tweet and say stuff on Instagram, when it comes down to the real nitty-gritty, folks may not get out to vote. You know, just like everybody wants to get up to mic and sing, but you never get the contract, right? It's like karaoke, and we cannot have karaoke politics with our citizens. So there's going to be whoever runs for president is going to have a heavy, heavy lift.
Stay tuned for more motivation, more inspiration, and more empowerment on the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked.
Have you purchased Michael Nimmons' new book entitled Vision? It is definitely a bestseller in the making. This book is full of positive insights on vision from people like President Barack Obama, Nelson Mandela, and Dr. Miles Monroe. Michael Nimmons offers a riveting and thought-provoking perspective on how spiritual vision transcends both natural and mental vision and propels you to your place of destiny and purpose in God. It is definitely a must-have. Just $20 for hard copy and $3.99 in ebook format. Available online everywhere books are sold. Get your copy today. You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Giving voice to issues that matter to you.
This is Michael Eric Dyson, and when I'm in Detroit, I listen to the Thinking Out Loud radio show, dropping that knowledge, giving that inspiration, giving us that enlightenment. Nobody does it like Brother Michael does it. Do your thing. Holla. Peace.
The Thinking Out Loud radio show, giving voice to issues that matter to you. Got the munchies? Call Munchie! If you worked all day, need a break? Call Munchie! Having a party for the big game? Call Munchie! If you want some mouth-watering pizza and wings, call
Archie!
Call 248-476-7272. Located at 34527 Grand River in Farmington.
When you have the munchies, call Bunchies!
It's their birthday. Need a gift for that special someone. Then call KCN Designs and sit back and smile. KCN Designs specialize in custom-made all-occasion baskets that are sure to make that special someone smile. Call KCN Designs today at 248-820-3691. That's 248-820-3691 and order your custom basket today.
You're listening to the Thinking Out Loud radio show with Pastor Michael Nimmons. Don't you dare touch that dial.
You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked, keep it locked, keep it locked.
I hope you have enjoyed part 2 of our discussion of women in politics with speaker, influencer, activist, and ambassador, Reverend Marcia L. Dyson. Let's hear the conclusion of this powerful interview. I know you are enjoying our interview with Reverend Marcia Dyson. She is such a powerful influence in this country and even around the world. And I'm just so happy that she's taken some time today to share her experiences and her insight with us on the Thinking Out Loud radio show. I hope all of our listeners on Blog Talk Radio and WDPR 102.4 appreciate her being on the show on tonight. I could probably talk to you for another hour, Reverend Dyson, because I just have so much, so many questions, and you just seem like a very easy person to talk to. But I want to know from you, what do you think are some of the real challenges facing women of color in this year 2019?
First of all, it really overall is a great time for black women. I think we've finally made that Baskin-Robbins 31 Flavor Flav of the month due to the buying of Essence magazine by Richie Lou Dennis, and the New Voices funding to give black women entrepreneurs grants and checks, unlike a bank would turn them around. I saw that at the Essence Festival, that these women in business, these single moms, these women that, people would frown upon, were actually given this inspiration via a financial wherewithal. Our black beauty is emulated and duplicated and replicated with everybody around the world. Our hair, our fashion, our lips, our gluteus maximus is being celebrated on us. Finally, I think that even with the Women's March, that the black women who were involved in that were strong leaders, independent of it, but also powerful within that movement. We see women like the Me Too founder, Tawana, her last name escapes me, I'm sorry, because I am a little bit tired. Great time for black women. We're becoming more entrepreneurial. We're not asking to be CEOs only, trying to get in the C-suite. We're buying back the block. We're having that Madam C.J. Walker experience of that entrepreneur, knowing that's the only way our communities would grow. We want to be a great part of that. I'm seeing that all over the place. So I'm happy around the entrepreneurial activities of black women, whether they are social media bloggers. I mean, there's so many opportunities that we never had, thanks to, in this aspect, technology and social media, whether they become personalities, that they're hawking stuff that we buy anyway, if they're getting paid. I'm glad for them to do that. So I think that this is a great time for black women. It's our moment in history to take it, to ride the waves, into the golden sun and not the sunset.
Wow. there you have it, guys. I just have enjoyed our conversation with Reverend Marcia Dyson on tonight. I know you enjoyed it as well. She just has so much wisdom and insight that she shared with us on this edition of the Thinking Out Loud radio show. And she has blessed us in so many ways. And just thank you so much, Reverend Dyson, for taking a little time out of your day to spend it with us on the Thinking Out Loud radio show.
No, thank you for allowing me to think out loud and to share my opinions, which, I don't expect for everyone to agree, but that's what it's all about, agree to disagree. And I'm on social media because you can send your love or your hate. I can take it.
Absolutely.
And God bless you, and I'm glad that you have this platform to engage your particular segment, and hope that it grows even more, because we need to think out loud. We need to have these conversations. We need to have a platform that we seemingly don't have on the Hill, to have a town hall meeting. You could do it very well over the waves, what you're doing. Thank you.
Wow, that is such a compliment coming from you. Thank you so much. And please let our listeners know how they can follow you on social media, how they can keep up with you. Let us know when your memoir is going to be coming out. We got to have you back on the show to talk to us about that memoir that's going to be coming out very soon as well.
Marcia L. Dyson is my handle on social media, Marcia L. Dyson.
And when is your memoir coming out?
I'm writing it now. It's supposed to come out in the spring of 2020.
All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Reverend Dyson, for being with us on tonight. I truly appreciate your time and all of your insights. And I know our listeners really and truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked, keep it locked, keep it locked.
Hello, this is Reverend Marcia Dyson, and you're listening to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. And I'm a reverend, unapologetically. And I'm talking out loud and thinking out loud with you.
The Thinking Out Loud radio show, giving voice to issues that matter to you. Missed the show where we talked politics and the church with Dr. Freddie Haynes.
I want to give you a hypothetical. If you were an invited minister to the Trump White House, first question is, do you go?
Catch it on Apple iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
And the answer is no. Donald Trump is an amoral liar. He's also egomaniacal. And because he is egomaniacal and a narcissist, you know that, to meet with him, you basically are there for his benefit. If you hear that I'm in a meeting with Donald Trump, know that somebody's impersonating me, or that I have been a victim of the invasion of the body snatchers and someone has taken over my body, because that is not something that I would ever do.
You're tuned in to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked, keep it locked, keep it locked.
Got the munchies? Call
Munchies!
If you worked all day, need a break? Call
Munchies!
Having a party for the big game? Call
Munchies!
If you want some mouth-watering pizza and wings? Call
Munchies!
Call 248-476-7272. Located at 34527 Grand River in Farmington.
When you have the munchies, call Munchies!
Listen to the Thinking Out Loud radio show, available on Apple Podcast, Google Play Music, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and now available on Spotify. Subscribe today. Stay Stay tuned for more motivation, more inspiration, and more empowerment on the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Keep it locked.
It's time for the Thinking Out Loud radio show thought of the week.
As we close out our discussion of women in politics with Reverend Marcia L. Dyson, I hope you enjoyed our conversation with this powerful woman of influence. I thought it was appropriate again that we share with you a speech from a rising star in the Democratic Party. She is Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, the first African-American woman Congresswoman from the state of Massachusetts. She gave a very powerful victory speech when she won back in November of 2018. And I want to share this powerful speech with you. Take a listen.
Wow, it is incredible to be with all of you this evening. You are an awesome sight to behold. I am grateful beyond words to God, to my loving family, to my dedicated A-team. To the volunteers and the broad and diverse coalition of voters, disruptors, believers, resistors, persisters, activists and agitators that brought us to this very moment. And I am so honored and humbled to share both the ballot and the stage with the many visionary, bold women who have raised their hand to run for public office. Now listen, I know for a fact none of us ran to make history. We ran to make change. However, the historical significance of this evening is not lost on me. The significance of history is not lost on me, including my personal one. Tonight, I'm reminded of my mother, my Shiro, the woman who gave me my roots and my wings. You see, Sandy Presley was a super voter. She voted in every election, and no matter how small we felt at times in community and society at large, my mother made sure I knew that when we walked into that voting booth and we pulled that curtain, that we were powerful. Tonight in Massachusetts and across the country, we are standing in our power. The same power my mother told me we had, the same power that compelled me to raise my hand and to not ask permission to lead. You see, when a woman of color talks about running for higher office or public office at all, folks don't just talk about a glass ceiling. Yes, we face many of the same trials our sisters and women of all colors face when answering the call to serve. But the well-intended conversations that occur when a woman of color seeks public office take on a texture all their own. Is your appeal broad enough? Are you playing identity politics? Can you really inspire millennials and the faith-based community? Can a congresswoman wear her hair in braids, rock a black leather jacket, wait a minute, and a bold red lip? When it comes to women of color candidates, folks don't just talk about a glass ceiling. What they describe is a concrete one. But you know what breaks through concrete? Seismic shifts. Drastic change. When those tectonic plates of revolution shift below our feet, when our communities deserve and these times require bold vision, activist leadership, a movement builds, and the citizen activist rises, and a force, they are a force to be reckoned with. Stronger than any one person or any institution, it builds up from the ground beneath our feet, and this groundswell, this shift can break through concrete. Today, with the women that I have the honor of sharing this ballot with in this stage, today we broke that concrete wide open. And yet, I have no intentions of delivering a victory speech. What I'm offering is a vision. One where together we can break cycles of poverty, break and rebuild a criminal legal system that actually delivers justice. One where we can break through and affirm the rights of our transgender friends and neighbors. One where we can break through and create an economy where one job is enough. One where we can break through and create a commonwealth and a country where the next generation's dreams aren't sabotaged by crippling student debt. Where we can break through and keep our immigrant families safe and together. One where we can break through and address the public health epidemic and crisis that is gun violence, and make the investment in the trauma response and recovery efforts to support those communities disproportionately impacted.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show, the conclusion of our discussion of women in politics with speaker, influencer, activist, and ambassador Reverend Marcia L. Dyson. I had a great time talking to her, and I know she enjoyed herself as well. I know she's listening on tonight, and I hope that you enjoyed tonight's show. Want to give her a special shout out. Thank you again for being with us on the Thinking Out Loud radio show. You blessed us in so many ways, and we thank you so much for your time and for your support. And do us a favor, guys, and rate, review, share, and subscribe to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. When you do, what you do is you give us more exposure on iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the major podcasting networks that carry our show. We want to be featured on the homepages of these podcasting networks, which gives our show more exposure to new listeners. So we're deputizing you to go out, rate, review, share, and subscribe to the Thinking Out Loud radio show. And we will truly appreciate you and love you just the same. Thank you, the listeners of the Thinking Out Loud radio show, for tuning in to tonight's show. We truly appreciate you. Don't forget to tune in next week. We're going to have another great show in store for you. And as always remember, if you think it, you can believe it. If you believe it, you can see it. If you see it, you can be it. If you can be it, you can achieve it. The power rests within you. The mind is the most powerful muscle in your body. Use what you got to get what you want. The power is in you. It's the Thinking Out Loud radio show. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Thinking Out Loud Radio Show podcast. Be sure to support all of our radio show partners. If you like the show, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, or Spotify. Want to book radio show host Michael Nimmons for a speaking engagement, book signing, or corporate event? Send an email to contact@michaelnimmons.com. Be sure to follow the show on all of its social media accounts, on Instagram at The TOL Radio Show, on Twitter at TOL Radio Show, or on our Facebook fan page at www.facebook.com/Thinking Out Loud Radio Show. Are you an entrepreneur? Want to advertise? Become a Thinking Out Loud Radio Show partner and take advantage of our free introductory advertising offers. Send an email to thinkingoutloudradioshow@gmail.com for more details. Visit the new home of the Thinking Out Loud Radio Show at www.michaelnimmons.com/TOL Radio Show. The Thinking Out Loud Radio Show, giving voice to issues that matter to you.